What's up everyone, Sam here. Today's topic of discussion is Amazon VPC, Virtual Private Cloud. Be that for the exams or even if you wanted to get into AWS, this is an important topic which comes under networking. In all three associate level exams, developer associate, be that solution architect associate, and finally sysops admin exam, this topic is pretty much covered. You will have so many scenario based questions and so on based on this concept VPC. It's essential for you to know how to launch a VPC, how do you deal with it, how do you maintain it. My suggestion will be you have to cover this VPC, be that the documentation, be that the hands-on. Pay attention to this, guys. So without further ado, let's get started with it. Amazon VPC lets you provision a logically isolated section of Amazon Web Services cloud where you can launch AWS resources in a virtual network that you define. So basically it's a virtual network and you have complete control over things like defining subnet or defining your own IP range and assigning it to them AWS resources you are launching. Why you want to use it? You have complete control over virtual networking environment, including selection of your own IP address range, creation of subnets, and configuration of route tables and network gateways. You can use both IPv4 and IPv6 in your VPC for secure and easy access to resources and applications. So this is like creating a miniature DC or data center within your organization with the help of AWS. You can even go to that level if you are leveraging the capabilities of Amazon VPC offering. And the key concepts, there are certain terminologies you need to understand, and since this is a basic level course, I would like to go over them as well. So VPC, as I said, it's a subcloud inside the AWS public cloud. Subcloud means it is inside an isolated logical network and you have complete control over this isolated portion of your network. Other servers cannot see instances that are inside a VPC. You can launch your AWS resources such as Amazon EC2 instances into your VPC. You can configure your VPC, you can select its IP range, create subnets, and as you said, configure route tables, network gateways, NACLs, security settings, and so on. And this will ensure that you have complete control over things. Also, while doing our lab sessions, we were selecting the default VPC. Amazon provides us with a default VPC setup so that you don't have to worry about configuring a VPC. You don't have to necessarily know how to set up a VPC, but then there is that provision. I mean, there is that space wherein you can jump in, you can create a non-default VPC and completely customize it. And then we have another concept which is subnet. So subnet, it's a range of IP address in your VPC. You can launch AWS resources into subnet that you select. Use a public subnet for resources that must be connected to the internet and a private subnet for resources that won't be connected to the internet. So two types of subnets, basically public and private. Private will not have access or a route out to the internet. Reason is simple, guys. Think about databases which you wanted to host inside your organization, and you don't want them to publicly accessible outside or from the internet, right? I mean, it's not a secure method or a best practice. You have to protect your databases and important aspects of your network. So those kind of resources you will be placing it under private subnet, and it will have no access to the internet, or it will not have any route out to the internet. You cannot access those resources which are placed inside the private subnet from internet. And a subnet is a sub network inside a VPC. An example of subnet inside a VPC, say for example 10.123.x.y is 10.123.1.a/24. This means any instance that belongs to this subnet will have an IP 10.123.1.a, where a can be anything between 2 and 254. These are also known as CIDR notations. If you are wondering what this CIDR is, it's classless interdomain routing. It's basically a method of assigning your IP address and defining your IP routing. An instance always belongs to a subnet. You cannot have an instance inside a VPC that does not belong to any subnets. So this is important. While spawning instance inside AWS VPC, one must specify which subnet the instance should belong to. The next concept is security group. You are already familiar with this concept. It acts as a firewall for associated Amazon EC2 instances, controlling both inbound and outbound traffic at the instance level. In our EC2 lab session, we have already gone through this. We have defined inbound rules, outbound rules, and seen the differences. Security groups are stateful. Once you define a route out, and then the return traffic will be automatically allowed. That's what we mean by stateful. And then we have something called as NACL, Network Access Control List. It acts as a firewall for associated subnets, controlling both inbound and outbound traffic at the subnet level. One big difference between security groups and NACLs are that security groups are stateful and then NACLs are stateless. Then we have the concept called as Internet Gateway. It is a horizontally scaled, redundant and highly available VPC component that allows communication between instances in your VPC and the internet. Basically, it's a route out to the internet, so that from the internet you can access your resources, AWS resources, if you have an internet gateway defined for that VPC. Then we have something called as NAT device. It is to enable instance in a private subnet to connect to the internet, for example for a software update or other AWS services, but prevent the internet from initiating connections with the instances. And then we have route table. It contains a set of rules called as routes that are used to determine where network traffic is directed. Each subnet in your VPC must be associated with a route table. It's mandatory. And the table controls the routing for subnets. A subnet can only be associated with one route table at a time, but you can associate multiple subnets with same route table. Network traffic of any instance inside a subnet is dictated by routing table. An example of routing table is the CIDR block, and then the target we have 10.123.0.0/16, and the target is local, and then we have defined 0.0.0.0/02 IGW, Internet Gateway. So the above table, it means that any traffic destined for 10.123.x.y IP, where x and y can be anything from 2 to 254, will be sent directly. The rest of the traffic will be directed to Internet Gateway. So that's what we have defined over there. 0 means rest of the traffic, all other traffics will be directed to Internet Gateway. Again, NACL, it's an optional layer of security for your VPC that acts as a firewall for controlling traffic in and out of one or more subnets. You might set up NACL with rules similar to your security groups in order to add an additional layer of security to your VPC. Apart from routing table, each subnet also assigned a network ACL. Network ACLs specify what type of traffic is allowed inside the subnet. By default, it might have the following rule. You have this table, rule number, port, protocol, source, and action. Then it has 100 all 0.0.0/0 allow. The above means that all traffic is allowed within this network. You can think of a network ACL as a subnet wide security group. They are effective while isolating subnets from each other, reducing the collision of domains, etc. So basically it's a second layer of protection, but again it is optional. This is an example diagram of a VPC, simple VPC. Take a look at it, guys. This is a sample diagram of a simple VPC which has a public subnet, and it has Internet Gateway. So from the internet, Internet Gateway handles all the traffic from and to, and then this is the VPC which is placed inside your AWS region. Your VPC CIDR block is 192.168.0.0/16. Based on the routing table which you have defined, the router takes care of all the traffic which comes in and which goes out. So we have this EC2 instance placed inside the subnet, and the subnet CIDR block is 192.168.1.0/24, and it resides, the whole thing resides within an availability zone. It's a simple diagram, and maybe in the next session we'll try to implement this VPC diagram. And then here is another example. Here I've got two different subnets. We have this VPC, we have two subnets defined under two different availability zones. my subnet 1 is under availability zone 1, and then subnet 2 is under availability zone 2. Inside both these subnets, I've defined an EC2 instance, one over here and one over here. And here is a more complex example which has a private and a public subnet. So you could see that, right? I mean, here I have got this subnet 1, router is here, internet gateway is here, and then the main routing table. The destination is defined over there on the routing table, custom routing table. Also you can define your internet gateway address, so that every traffic will be going towards destined towards internet gateway. The next concept is VPC peering. So you know that Amazon VPC, it will enable you to launch Amazon Web Services resources into a virtual network that you define. And think about this, you have two or more than two VPCs defined within your AWS account, and you are thinking about connecting them. And the use case is simple. You have to make the resources available from a different VPC inside your own VPC. So you have to have a network connection between two VPCs that enables you to route traffic between them using private IPv4 address or IPv6 addresses. Instances in either VPC can communicate with each other as if they belong to the same network. You can create a VPC peering connection between your own VPCs or with a VPC in another AWS account. Again, pay attention to this, guys. In both the cases, VPCs must be in same region. So here is a simple diagram which showcases VPC peering between VPC A and VPC B. I have this VPC A defined with CIDR block of 10.0.0.0/16, and then the VPC B, take a look at it, guys. The CIDR block range of VPC B, it's defined as 172.31.0.0/16, and we have two instances connected through this VPC. Even though their CIDR block ranges are different, their subnets are different. If there is a VPC peering enabled, you can access these two different EC2 instances as if they belong to the same network. And AWS uses this existing infrastructure of VPC to create a VPC peering connection. It is neither a gateway nor a VPN connection and does not rely on a separate piece of physical hardware. There is no single point of failure for communication or bandwidth bottleneck. A VPC peering connection can help you to facilitate the transfer of data. For example, if you have more than one AWS account, you can peer the VPC across those accounts to create a file sharing network. You can also use a VPC peering connection to allow other VPC to access resources you have in one of your VPCs. The best use cases will be this, peering two or more VPCs to provide full access to resources. And ideally in our organization, this is the way we use or leverage the capabilities of VPC peering. We have VPC defined for different environments, be that development environment for development purpose, UAT for testing purpose. We have a VPC defined just for production, and then a disaster recovery setup which we have placed in a different VPC, and we call it as a DR VPC. And think about this scenario. Often we might need connections between dev and UAT just to facilitate the network transfers, be that the data, be that other integration, system integration calls and other stuff. So we have this VPC peering between dev and UAT and prod, and then prod and disaster recovery environment. We have this active VPC peering. That's the best use case I can think of. And then it's a one-to-one connection between VPC. Non-transitive peering is possible. Means you have to have this one-to-one connection defined. Have a look at the diagram, guys. Here I've got three different VPCs, A, B and C, and I have an active VPC peering between A to B and then A to C. It does not mean that you can access resources which are in VPC B and VPC C. There won't be any active connection until you define one. That's what I mean by transitive peering. So you have to have a one-to-one mapping or a one-to-one connection between VPCs to make this VPC peering possible. And then we have this elastic IP, An elastic IP address is a static IPv4 address designed for dynamic cloud computing. An elastic IP address is associated with your AWS account. With an elastic IP address, you can mask the failure of an instance or software by rapidly remapping the address to another instances in your account. Public IPs change when EC2 instance restarts, but elastic IP do not change. You might have seen this already in our lab session. You can request for an elastic IP address. Within seconds you will be provided an elastic IP from the pool, and once you feel like okay, you no longer want that elastic IP, you can delete it, and that will be put back into the pool. And the reason why you use elastic IP, as I said, you can avoid this failure. You can mask the failure, and then you can remap the same address to another instance in your account. And then you might have seen this behavior when you restart EC2 instance. Their IP address, they get changed, the public IPs or the DNS IP address with which you will try to access the EC2 instance. But then once you assign this elastic IP, be that the restarts, be that anything, that will be staying the same. There won't be any difference in the elastic IP even after you restart your EC2 instance. That being said, in our next video or next session, we'll try to have a lab session on launching the VPC. We'll try to give it some time. We'll try to create a couple of VPCs. We'll try to understand these concepts that we were discussing, subnet, NACL, stuff like that. One other thing I would like to share with you is this. I get a lot of questions, be that over my YouTube channel, the messages, comments, and then in my Facebook page as well. I'm trying my best to answer them, and if you find it difficult, or there might be a delay, that's what I wanted to say. That being said, thanks a lot for all your support, guys. I'll see you in the next video.